Hey there, Legal Tea listeners. This is your host, Jenny Roselle. Here we are with our next episode of Legal Tea. And today's topic is a current trend. Something going on in the current time that is pertinent to my little estate world. So with that introduction, we're actually talking about how the NCAA now allows college athletes to make money for their what they call, quote, name, image, and likeness. And you know what happens when people start making money? They usually start accumulating money. So before we dive into how this pertains to my world, let's chat for a minute about these new NCAA rules. At the end of June 2021, the NCAA adopted these, quote, name, image, and likeness policies, name, image, and likeness rules. And what this means, according to a CBS News article on the new rules, is that college athletes will actually be able to get paid for doing things like autograph signings, endorsements, and doing appearances. So in their press release, the NCAA clarified that the new policy does not allow, quote, what's called pay for play. So meaning they do not allow for college athletes to actually get paid for merely playing their, respective sport. So when I think of this policy change, I think of big names in college sports, and we can all probably think of several examples, though, because this is my podcast and I can talk about who I want, I am a Butler University alum and a massive, huge Butler basketball fan. Go Dogs. So let's rewind to 2010, which I know is a little while ago, but I was in college then. So remember when those Butler Bulldogs made headlines for making their historic run in the NCAA tournament? Super long story short, even though I would love to relish in this moment and keep talking about Butler basketball, the Bulldogs made it to the national championship, the big dance in Division I college basketball. And ironically enough, the national championship in 2010 that year was in Indianapolis, Indiana. So the national championship was my little old Butler against powerhouse Coach K and his Duke University. So many called it sort of like a David and Goliath sort of thing. And Duke, while they are a small private school like Butler, they're just like really, really good at college basketball, like 95% of the time. And Coach K, he's a legend, right? Like just a legend. I actually think he's retiring this next season, actually. So that game, it was close all four quarters. It literally came down to the last second. And that's not me being dramatic. It really did come to down to the last second. Gordon Hayward, who was a kind of hometown hero, he hailed from Brownsburg, Indiana. He threw up a last second, would have won the game shot. And it almost went in. Like, just scary close how close it went in. To this day, when they actually show a replay of that video of Hayward throwing up that shot, it still hurts my little heart. It will forever be too soon to see that video. So the miss hits like every part of the basketball rim, but doesn't fall in. The Bulldogs lose in like this awful, heartbreaking fashion. They almost took out the Duke University. So throughout the season and tournament, I'm getting to a point, just hang with me. So throughout their season and throughout the tournament, Gordon Hayward was a name many knew. He was a dang good basketball player. Though as the team sailed through the tournament, and then when he nearly hit like the biggest shot in college basketball history, he nearly instantaneously became, like, dare I say, like a famous name, like famous-ish name at least. The kicker? So Hayward, like I said, was an Indiana native attending a college in Indiana, Butler University, and went to the NCAA national championship in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm telling you, Hayward could have set up shop at any place in Indiana following all of that and had people paying probably some big money for autographs, appearances, etc. And this is exactly what the rules changed. Beforehand, that was a no-no. You couldn't get paid for things like that. And now college athletes can. So how does this relate to my little world? I'm sure you are thinking that. Well, it's a little bit of a stretch, but I have serious concerns about these new rules. Can you imagine college athletes that gain popularity pretty quickly and get famous? And if they start doing appearances, I mean, think way bigger than Gordon Hayward in Indianapolis. Think of a huge college athlete doing an appearance on a TV show, a nationally televised game, etc. So some of these college athletes, they're going to make some serious money. And honestly, good for them. Good for them. I actually, shortly after finishing writing the script for this episode, I happened to catch a tweet on Twitter from a gentleman by the name of Joe Pompliano. And I think he's a pretty recognized name in the sports industry. But anyways, his Twitter bio states he, quote, breaks down the business and money behind sports. Anyway, so Joe shared that according to estimates, which I'm honestly not sure where he pulled these estimates from, to be honest, but he said that Reggie Bush, who a former football player, he famously played at USC, got the All-American honors twice, received the Heisman Trophy as the most outstanding player in the nation. All of that according to Reggie Bush's Wikipedia. So anyway, estimates claim that Reggie Bush, likely could have earned somewhere between $4 million and $6 million annually had these new NCAA rules, had they been in place back then. Like, that's a lot of money. I mean, at least to me, it's a lot of money, especially for a college athlete. My goodness. So let's take Gordon Hayward out of the mix. And now we know what reports are saying about Reggie Bush. Indiana University, just in our own backyard here in Indiana, everyone calls it around here IU. So if I accidentally say IU or Indiana University, the same thing. So IU just announced that they are updating their internal policies to aid student athletes in making money based on their, quote, name, image, and likeness. IU is one of the very first schools to officially announce that they're updating their policies. And I guarantee IU won't be the last either. I'm just sure of it. So this conversation is really just getting started. And to be honest, it's going to be a lot of, testing to see how these rules end up getting tested, maybe stretched too far, etc. But the point of today's episode, it's not to talk about it. It's to talk about what I think will be the product of it. So we're not going to be talking about, the rules themselves. I want to talk about what could come from these new rules. When you start to make good money, sometimes, not always, but sometimes you also start to accumulate money. And especially if the athlete is surrounded by, people and professionals encouraging them to save what they earn, or heck, save even some of what they earn. Something that does not go hand in hand is young people and estate planning. Goodness. I mean, especially college kids. So people in that age group just flat don't think about my little world. They don't think about things like this. I sure didn't. So I'm not harping on them about it. I didn't think about it when I was that age. You see, one of my least favorite questions ever that I get asked routinely is when should I be thinking of estate planning, Jenny? I mean, how old are most of your clients? The answer to those questions are actually very different. How old are most of my clients? Well, a heavy majority of my clients are probably 50 plus. Though I do have some in the 30s to 40s that do recognize how important it is to do estate planning, especially if there's minor kids involved. In my 10 years at my office, I think I've helped probably 5 or less kids get some basic documents in place. And those kids are often clients' kids. So, say I help Bob and Sally, and I talk to Bob and Sally, how important estate planning is, and they say, oh, should I get some documents in place for our son, Sonny? That's usually when I do help kids, is sort of as a, the kids are getting nudged by their parents. So, estate planning is actually a thing for anyone above the age of 18, because that is when you are legally considered an adult. So something happens to you, you fall down the stairs after a late night out at the bars, or maybe you get in a car accident, or maybe if you go skiing, maybe you fall down and you have an accident going down the hill, which would probably be me. You get the point. So something happens, and guess what? Your parents probably no longer have the legal authority to do much, because you're now an adult and the law treats you as such. So why am I talking about this NCAA rule change? Because I can see what is going to happen. I can see it from a mile away. These college athletes are going to get paid. Like I said, rightfully so, they should. And they're going to likely start to accumulate money. And then what if something happens to them? And I hate to be like this. I hate to be kind of yucky, but in all likelihood, someone at some point, something is going to happen to. It may not be this year. It may not be next year, but something is going to eventually happen. And then lawyers are going to have to get involved, because they're going to have to clean up these these college athletes' lack of estate planning. And I, of course, don't like saying this. It is yucky to think. It is yucky to say. But I also think it's realistic. I think it's unrealistic to think that yucky things never happen. They do. And they certainly don't discriminate based on age. When I was thinking about what I wanted to chat about this episode of, current trends, hot topics, I ran across this update about the NCAA rule change. And I thought, why not talk about this? After all, it would be a respectful reminder that people of all ages could face incapacity and could face death. So while most people think of estate planning much later in life, let's not forget about our kids, our grandkids, especially if they end up in a situation where they will end up making money, more money than, say, a normal kiddo. And I'm looking at you, college athletes. Trust me, normal kiddos, non-college athletes, they don't usually need anything fancy. Most of the time, normal kiddos probably just need something like a healthcare representative to appoint who they'd want to make healthcare decisions for them if they couldn't. And they probably need a power of attorney to appoint who they'd want to manage financial affairs if they couldn't. If, for whatever reason, the kiddo has accumulated money and savings like maybe a college athlete can do nowadays, they probably need some more planning, perhaps a will or even a trust. So, our saying around here at Legal Tea, our hashtag do your estate plan, friends, regardless of your age. Just get it done. So next week's topic is going to be back to estate planning of the rich and famous. And last time on the topic, we talked about Prince. Well, this time we're going to be talking about Mr. Larry King, the very well-known radio and TV show host. And while he did some estate planning, unlike Prince, who didn't do any, there's still some scuttlebutt going on following his passing this year. So stay tuned for that one. So until next Tuesday, you guys be well and take care.